Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Coins with Clutch. Again, I'm Chris Clutch. I want to thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. Many of you have seen me on TikTok. Hopefully you guys got to see my first video I posted explaining the different type of pennies out there. So this episode I like to call loose change, and we're going to get into pennies. I call it that because you could take all your loose change that you find in your couch, your change containers at home, anything that you keep change in, your car, anywhere, and you can go through those, especially your pennies, and you can maybe find a valuable penny that's worth a lot more than just 1 cent. So sit back, enjoy. I've got 2 rolls of pennies here that we're gonna go through. I'll kind of show you exactly how I go through them and what exactly I look for. So thank you, and sit back and enjoy. Before I get into the roll of pennies, I just wanted to kind of highlight what I covered in the last video, kind of going through each of the different pennies. As you can see, these are the 10 least minted pennies that are out there since 1909. Okay, as I mentioned, the 1909 SVDB, 484,000 were minted. The 1931 S, 866,000. And then getting into your other dates here. These are all considered key dates, okay? Just based on mintage. So the 1909 S, they're pretty hard to find. 11S, 12S, 14S are difficult to find, and your 31 Denver Mint and your 26S. The note here, the VDB initials were removed just after 5 days of production and placed on the shoulder of Lincoln on the obverse, and that didn't happen until 1918. Then you scroll over here, these are the 10 most high value pennies out there. As you can see, a 1943 D non-steel penny, so it would be copper. That's an estimated value based on auction and condition of the coin. If you find a 1944 S steel penny, that's how much that's worth as well. And you can see the values here. Some things to keep in mind: DDO stands for double die obverse. So if you find a doubling on the front of the coin, you possibly could have a $2,000 penny. Okay. Then the 1909 S Indian head is worth $1,000 because those are low mintage as well. Any penny from 1943 should be steel. Any penny from 1944 should be copper and not steel. Again, if you find a 1943 copper penny or a 1944 steel penny, these are the amounts. Something else to keep in mind too when you're dealing with pennies is the weight of pennies, okay? Right here I have 3 different pennies that I'll show you here. This one is a 1942 copper penny. And knowing copper pennies, these should weigh 3.11 grams. All copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams. So we'll put this on the scale. And it says 3.14. So there is a little degree of error, but it's close to textbook. So just keep that in mind. All copper pennies are 3.11 grams. This here is a 1943 steel penny. This should weigh about 2.7 grams. So we'll put that on there. We will weigh it. And yeah, that's about 2.72 grams. Okay, so all steel pennies are grams. The also thing to keep in mind too with steel pennies is that they are magnetic. And that's how you can tell if they are steel or not. If they stick to a magnet, then they are steel. If they do not stick to a magnet, then they are not steel, and somebody tampered with it and made it look like a steel penny. Finally, this is a regular 2022 Union Shield penny. This is composed of zinc and just a little bit of copper, and this should weigh about 2.5 grams. And there is the weight, 2.52 grams. So those changed over in 1982. They minted some copper pennies in 1982, and then they switched over to zinc. And continue the mint on from 1982 on. So pretty important when you're dealing with pennies and you find certain pennies, you want to make sure you have a scale that you can weigh your pennies. I mentioned earlier that you would have to do a magnet test to check to make sure that your steel penny is magnetic. So I have my trusty magnet here. So if you put it over the copper, it does not stick. If you put it over the zinc, a little premature there. If you put it over the zinc, it does not stick. But if you put it over the steel penny, there you go. Sticks. So therefore you know it is actually steel. That is actually important when you verify a 1944 steel penny, because if it does stick like that, then that is in fact steel and not a counterfeit. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into these 2 penny rolls here that I mentioned earlier. So I'll show you as we go along what I look for specifically in a roll of pennies. Some things to keep in mind. Sometimes you'll find some pennies in here that are very dull, very dirty, very old looking. As I tell people, not just with pennies, but with any coin out there, do not clean your coins whatsoever. Cleaning coins actually depreciates the value of coins. So if you clean your coins, you are actually losing money on a very valuable coin that you could potentially have. So keep that in mind. Don't clean your coins. All right. The other thing you want to make sure too is when you're looking at pennies, pennies are sometimes difficult to spot. Different errors, different double die errors, repunched mint marks, things of that nature. So I would recommend you getting a magnifying glass. I also have a digital microscope that you can use. All right, is actually zoom in on different parts of the penny. So as we get into this, I'll explain things that are on my little map here on my cheat sheet and explain to you as we go along what exactly I look for. So let's go ahead and rip open this roll. All right, sometimes the glue on these rolls are pretty hard to get into, so I just use like the top of a pen to kind of get it started on both sides. And then once that's done, I should just be able to tear it open. All right, here we go. So if I find any weak pennies in here, you know, those are from 1909 to 1958, I'll definitely go ahead and keep those. And then there's also other things I look for in pennies. I'm going to set them down here. I'll start with a little pile here in my hand, and we'll go ahead and get started. So for 2015, really just looking for any kind of doubling on the letters and the numbers. 2015, In God We Trust. I look at Lincoln's head. Sometimes the ears can look like there's a double ear. So this one looks pretty normal. And I'll flip it around. So something to keep in mind too, when you flip a penny around, you flip it up and it should be in line with the obverse. The reverse should be in line with the obverse when you flip it up like that. There are coins out there with what's called rotation errors. So if the shield was maybe 30 degrees off or maybe even 90 degrees off, that would be something that I would keep, because those are minted in error. So, but this one is normal, so we'll move on to the next one. All right, this is a 2012. Nothing really to look for on those. And again, you know, see how dirty these are? Yeah, do not clean these. I just set them off to the side and re-roll them back up and send them back out into circulations. All right, 2002, nothing there. This is a memorial one. Remember, the Union Shield went into mint in 2010. So these are 2002, nothing there. All right, here's another memorial. This one is a 1973. Nothing specific for that year, but again, we look for doubling, which doesn't look like there is any. At 3 was a little deceiving, but it's just the way the light is showing on that. There is no doubling. All right. Some other things too to look for is this FG that's right here on the corner. Sometimes in some older coins that's actually missing, so you would actually hold on to that. This is a 2001, nothing there. This is a 1972 Denver Mint. So Denver Mint, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, no mint mark for Philadelphia. So, all right, that's 2 looks a little weird on the date there. So we're gonna put this one under the scope and take a closer look. All right, I'll move the camera up this way so you guys can see. All right, just a little gunk. I guess it was just maybe the way the light was showing that, but it's a normal penny. Nothing, no doubling. We'll kind of go over to the Liberty side, and nothing there either. So that's why you always check these under a scope or magnifying glass and make sure that there's no hidden errors. All right, this one is a 1991. Okay, nothing in particular to look for in that year. This is a 1992. All right, so 1992. This is a good year to explain this part. All right, so I'm gonna zoom down here and show you the difference between a close AM and a wide AM in America. So if you look at certain dates, for instance, in 1993, the A and the M here are touching each other, and you can see the M to the left here. That is considered a close AM. If you look here on the wide AM variant, the A and the M and the M and the E, the space in between them, are equal spaces. Okay, so that's the difference between a close AM and a wide AM. So in 1992, okay, you can look here, this is considered a close AM. Actually, let me widen it. Let me zoom in a little bit here. All right, on your 1992, we're gonna look to see if this is a close AM or not. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this under the scope to make it a little easier. All right, so we're gonna turn this around, and this in fact is a wide AM, all right? And as you can remember, the distance between the A and the M and the distance between the M and the E are equal, okay? If that was a close AM, I would definitely keep that, because for 1992 pennies, you want to keep close AM, okay? So in 1983 through 2000, you want to look for wide AMs. So in this case, if this was a 93 through 2000, you want to look for that and keep those. So, and I'll explain more as we go along, because it does get kind of confusing. So, all right, so this one here is a 94 Denver Mint. Okay, so again, we want to keep wide AM for 1994 pennies. So put this over here, and as you can see, that is a close AM. The A and the M are touching, so that's normal. Remember, that goes from 1993 to 2000. And this is a 1980. Nothing in particular there to look for, just maybe some die doubling. We'll put it under the scope just to check the date. And I don't see any doubling on the date at all. Okay. Again, some of these are so unreadable that you don't even bother with them sometimes, so. All right, at 2004, nothing to look for there. Here's a 2020, pretty pristine. Some of the newer pennies, they might have die chips, especially where the 1 cent is written. Okay, so you definitely want to look to see if there's any breaks or die chips, anything like that. I can't read that. Yeah, if I can't read the date, then I usually don't spend too much time on it. So 2016, nothing there. Here's a 2010. This was the first coin that went into the Union Shield design on the reverse. Okay. And another penny here that's got a bunch of gunk on it and stuff. So no matter how tempting it is, do not clean these. Unless you plan on making jewelry with them or something. All right, here's a 93, okay? Keep all wide AMs on your 93s. So we'll put this under the scope and take a look. And that's a close AM right there. Uh, 2007, nothing to look for there. Pennies doesn't take a lot of patience and attention to detail, so this looks like a 2017 P for Philadelphia Mint. So if you remember from my video, 2017 marked the 225th anniversary of the mintage of the coin. So Philadelphia actually put P for their mint marks just for that year and that year only. So now if you were ever to find a 2017 with no mint mark on it, that is definitely a keeper, and that was minted in error. And you can probably get a pretty penny for that. Pun on words. 1977 Denver Mint. And nothing really to look for on that one. And a 2020. All right, we're about halfway through the roll here. 2021. Yeah, usually your newer coins, we're still trying to figure out like what the actual die errors and the die mistakes are on those. So I know some people have found some cracks and errors on them. Here's a 2006. We look for doubling on this one, especially on the Lincoln face. Sometimes the ear would have some doubling. Sometimes there would be some chips on the neck. But this one looks normal. This one is, so this, like these chips and stuff, this is what's considered post-mint damage. So it didn't come out of the mint looking like this, but I'm sure these get beat up over the years. So depending on what this is a 1979. Yeah, this thing's look like it's been chipped, scraped. Unfortunately, this is not worth much of anything. 2005, nothing there. There's a 1995, so we want to keep the wide AMs. We want to look and see, and that's actually a close AM. You can actually see it clearly. The A and the M are touching. So that's normal. All right, this one is a 1995 again. Again, we're looking for wide AM. This is the close AM. So again, when you look for the AM in America, 1992 is the wide AM variety. 1993 through 2000 is the close AM, but you want to look for the opposites of those. So for 92, you want to look for the close AM, and for 93 through 2000, you want to look for the wide AM. Okay, this is a 2019. If you were to ever find a 2019 coin with a W on it, that is a West Point Mint coin. That was actually not meant for circulation. It was only issued in mint sets. So just something to keep in mind. This here's a 2000. Again, we'll look for the AM. That is a close AM if you want to take a look there. So apologies, the focus is very finicky. There it is. You can see the A and the M are touching. All right, this is a 2021. Nothing there. All right, a 1988. Looks pretty normal. All right. No weak pennies in this one by the looks of it. And sometimes you get lucky with those, sometimes you don't. There's a 1978. Again, nothing there. Here's a 2000. Again, we want to look for the wide AM on that, and that's actually close AM. 2020. There's a 1980. I was trying to find a 1982 so I can show you what we look for in a 1982 coin. Here's a 2010. Nothing there. Here's a, okay, here we go. 1982. All right, so 1982, if you remember from my previous video, had 7 different types. You had 1982 large date, 1982 small date, and then they minted some of these in copper, and then that's when they switched over to zinc. So some of the large dates were copper, some of the large dates were zinc, and that goes for both Denver and Philadelphia mints. So the first thing we want to do when we look at a 1982 is determine whether or not this is a large or a small date. And in order to do that, you should use a scope for that, or a magnifying glass. So I'm going to put that on there, and you guys can take a look. Okay. So in order to determine if it's a long date or a large date or a small date, I look at the 2. Okay. You can see that the 2 is pretty bold. Okay, it has a very distinct bottom of that. All right, so we'll go into our little cheat sheet here and I'll show you. So the large date has a 2 that looks like that, and also the bottom of the 2 kind of cuts in line with the 8 and the 9, and it kind of rests at the bottom of the 1 right there. If it was a small date, the 2 would be more narrow at the bottom, and it'd be more curved right here. Okay, and then also your 1, 8, and your 2 would be in line on the bottom. So we'll kind of go back over here. You can see the bottom of the 2 kind of cuts along the 8, okay, and then rests right at the 1. So this is a large date. Okay, so the other thing we do with these is we weigh them. Okay, because large dates are also copper or zinc. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll put this on the scale, and this is a copper penny, as it weighs about 3.07 grams. All right, so this is a 1982 Philadelphia Mint large date copper penny. What we want to look for is a 1982 Denver Mint that weighs 3.1 grams. That's a small date. Those were minted in error. And if you ever find those in a very good and pristine condition, those can be worth up to 5 figures. So something to keep in mind with your 1982 pennies. All right, a 2019, 2017 P, and this is a 1975, nothing to look for there. 2005, and another 2017. Here's a 1986 Denver Mint. Now we look at the Denver Mint there. It looks pretty bold. I'll put that underneath the scope so we can see if there's any kind of doubling or repunched mint mark. A repunched mint mark is if you see a D there and then you see another D kind of transposed on the top or the bottom. That's what it means when it's repunched. And that doesn't look like, that just looks like it's post-mint damage there. And no doubling on the date. Alright. 2008, nothing to look for there. We're down to our last few here. 2007, nothing there. There's a 1996 by the looks of that. So we look for the wide AM on that as well. And that is a close AM. The A and AM are touching. And finally a 1988, and there's nothing really to look for on that one. All right, so we just finished one roll. I think for the sake of time of the video, we'll just keep it down to one roll here. I will go through this other roll on my own here, but I also wanted to show you guys some other things on some pennies that I've found in the past. So you definitely want to keep pennies that have like a luster or shine to them. Like for example, this 1890 Indian head cent had a little bit of a luster to it, especially on the reverse. So I went ahead and kept that and put it in a flip. This one here is a 1907, pretty good, very distinct. And with these, I'll probably go ahead and get them graded and take a look at. This one here is the old 1907 Vdb Penny. If you remember in my video, this was the one that was actually in the book, but I went ahead and swapped it out with a different one. And I'll show you the one that I actually put in the book because it actually looks a little bit better. But if you could see on this one, which I don't think you could see very well, the initials VDB, Victor David Brennan, are right there on the bottom. But I will go ahead and show you guys a better version of the Vdb Penny, which is right here. Okay, and if you could see the initials on the bottom, here's the initials VDB. Okay, though they went away like 5 days after it went into circulations because the public really didn't care for it too much. So all right, some other ones that we have here. Here's a 1910 wheat penny that you just want to hold on to. Another 1912. Here's a 1919 that was actually in good condition. Okay. Some other ones here. Here's a 1939 that's kind of got a decent color to it. Anything like that is called toning, where you can see the different colors in it. So you want to definitely hold on to it. And again, here's a 1942 Denver Mint. It's got good toning on it. Here's an example of a steel penny. Okay, this one is a 1943 steel penny. Really no imperfections on it. So, and then something like this, you definitely want to keep. 1949 S. This is a very good condition. Okay, And then the other thing I want to show you guys is what's called a proof coin. This is a proof penny, and you can see kind of the distinct luster, and it looks like a mirror right there. I actually found this in a roll. This was actually probably broken from a proof set that maybe somebody had gotten. Somebody probably spent it, and then it got put into circulation again. So these are actually very nice and very good to have. As you can see, the value of these is definitely worth more than a penny. All right, and then the other thing I want to show you is there's a lot of different errors that you can find on pennies. For example, on this one here, there was a die chip on the mint mark here on the S on this 1929 S wheat penny. Okay. Another good one here I'll show you is the 1930 wheat penny here. The 0 on the date was all filled in, so that's considered a die chip or a die error. So I kept that. Right here, I know you can't really see it, and I'll probably put it on the scope for you to look at. But in this 1957 P wheat penny, there's a big die chip in between the B and the E in Liberty. And I'll go ahead and put that underneath the scope so you can see it. Call it the BIE error. All right, we'll zoom that in a little bit here. All right, there you go. There you go, look at that. That's what it looks like. Just different die chips inside of the, in between the lettering. So it's just stuff like that that we look for. So, all right, and you can see I've got a lot here. I just kind of went through a lot of pennies and kind of put those off to the side. So yeah, it definitely is an art. It's definitely something that you know, practice makes perfect. You know, I by no means am an expert at this. I'm still learning as we go. So, but yeah, it's exciting, it's fun, and that's why I enjoy doing this. All right, everybody, I hope you guys found this video informative and helpful in your hunt for your valuable coin. Always remember the key dates that you look for, as I mentioned in my previous videos. Make sure you look for your double die obverse and your double die reverses, along with your repunched mint marks. General rule of thumb that goes for any coin out there: never ever clean your coins. They actually depreciate the value of your coin. So no matter how tempted you want to clean your coins, do not clean your coins. And so thank you again. Stay tuned for my next series I'll post up on YouTube. I'll go over the nickel. I'll go over all the different types of nickels that I've been collecting, a little history behind them each, and then I'll do another loose change for the nickels. Show you guys what I look for in a roll of nickels. So again, thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you're not following me on TikTok, head on over. I'm at CM Clutch, and you guys have a blessed day.